Hi everybody, watch this review here with a look at Murdock from JazWares A-Team movie line. Now when these figures first came out, I mentioned I was a little bit disappointed as I didn't think they looked all that great, and at $6 I felt they're kind of a rip-off. So I guess the question becomes, what would I pay for figures like these? Well, $5, is a very reasonable price, but $4, they don't do so much, but that, again, really cool price. $3, it'd be a definite buy. But wait, I did not even pay $3 for these. I picked these up I picked Murdock up on clearance for $1.48. Unfortunately, Murdock and Lynch were the only two they actually had in. I assume the other ones probably sold out before I either they hit clearance or they hit clearance and they sold out before I found this, but would have picked up Lynch if I'd picked up the rest of the line, but didn't really feel like it if I was just picking up Murdock. Now, the interesting thing about this packaging is it's just incredibly generic. Basically, they took the same card, all the elements, except for this one little unique identifier here with the picture of the actor and the little name tag for, I guess it's HM, Howling Mad Murdock. I don't know what the HM stands for, I just knew the Howling Mad. That's what the HM stands for! I mean, first name wise, I don't know what his first name is. But yeah, I mean, it's not even like, at first I thought it was like a sticker, but it's just like a piece of cardboard they stuck in there. I mean, it's an interesting way of doing it, and, this package design does look really cool, but it's just kind of chintzy that on the back we don't even have like a unique character information, we don't even have pictures of the other characters in the line, or anything that I can show you, but, it's JazWares, so you have to be used to this. I mean, seriously. Let's get this package open and we'll have a closer look at the figure. Okay, so here's what I was talking about earlier. These things that you see here in the front, they're just little cardboard inserts, so pop right out. I mean, a lot of other toy lines do something like this, except for they're usually like rooted down the bottom. This, the actual plastic of the inner blister holds them in place, which, is kind of a cool touch, and I actually do like this packaging and the overall look to it a bunch, despite being absurdly generic. As for Murdock himself, personally, when I think of the A-Team, the first characters that come to mind are either Hannibal or B.A. Baracus, or is it Baracus? I'm terrible with these pronunciations on the fly, but Murdock was probably my least favorite character of the group, despite the fact that, within my group of friends and stuff, I was always called the Murdock of the group. I never got that comparison. But, seriously, out of pack, I am a lot more impressed by this figure than I was just looking at him in stores. I believe most of, my complaints about these figures, when I first saw them, the little joints, or little pin joint thingies in the shoulders looked a lot more prominent on some of them, and, gave them a sort of cheap look, but, it's not as bad as I thought, although it might be worse than some of the other figures, and there actually is a pretty decent amount of paintwork on this. I am a little impressed here, well, more than a little impressed, especially as far as JazWares is concerned, but you'll notice that there are all sorts of different hues here on the outer jacket that give it a real sort of leathery look. I mean, probably not the most realistic look, but definitely a sort of pleather look for cheap leather. The hat too has multiple tones of red. I mean, his face likeness, I don't know, I mean, it does look like a character, I mean, offhand. And, overall the paint just does seem kind of impressive. Or at least, for comparable lines. And you'll notice the amount of shadowing and texturing on the back again, in addition to the little... It looks like they actually made indents and stuff for where the texturing is, so... I mean, that's some definite props there. Because, I mean, if you're familiar with a lot of other JazWares works, I mean, they generally just take, licensing and then they pop out cheap figures, but they did actually put a bit more work into this, it looks like. Weapon-wise, unfortunately, they just didn't bother. I mean, Sure, the guns look sort of realistic, despite the fact that they didn't even bother, kind of chopping out like the little plastic in between the whole trigger area, so it's just one solid piece. And there's no real paintwork on the rifle or the handgun. And again, the plastic is still left in there. It looks like he holds his weapons fine. Of course, I didn't bother trying to test the weapon holding out when I was just messing around with this figure during that little break, but yeah, he holds the pistol fine. Rifle-wise, I imagine you probably can't get like a really good cross pose going, but this might surprise me. I mean, I know with like G.I. Joes always have a hard time getting the rifles to get a really realistic position. Yeah, this is really no exception. You have to really just kind of... There's no extra point up here at the bicep. You can't get the two arms to sort of intersect, so he'd be like holding the rifle like you might hold a rifle, but, a lot of figures in this scale and other scales do have that problem, so I won't necessarily fault them. In terms of articulation, the joints feel surprisingly firm and flexible. I mean, even out of box, there is no exceptional amount of stiffness. Like, typically when you buy, like, some figures, you have to, like, kind of break them in just to get the limbs to move smoothly, but, I mean, they move with a slight amount of resistance, which is always a good thing. So it just doesn't seem to loosen up all that quickly, but it will move easily. Now, in terms of articulation, we have a rotating wrist, a ball and socket here at the elbow, ball jointed shoulder, pretty full range of motion. I mean, a little bit up here at the top might be impeded. Head will rotate, goes up and down a small amount, but the hair sculpt on the back impedes it. Now, there's no waist. No, wait, there it goes. This figure made me into a liar. But yeah, there is waist articulation, but no upper torso or ab crunch. We have a ball jointed leg with a really great range of motion, so if you want to, he could definitely be posed inside the A-Team's van if you did pick it up. I didn't. Saw a few reviews that sort of just blasted it, and even though I think I saw it in stores for like it was 10 or 15 bucks, I said just pass. A single joint here at the knee. And then down at the foot/ankle, it just rotates. It doesn't seem to go up and down. All in all, this is a really impressive figure. Well, I guess as far as these figures will go. I mean, it does even strike me as being a bit better than a lot of the G.I. Joes that we've seen in recent years. But then again, I wasn't really following the G.I. Joes up until the whole Rise of Cobra stuff. But at any rate, there's a good amount of detail, nice paint as far as I could see, very few paint flaws. I mean, a little bit of skin bleed onto the hair, but other than that, it's pretty clean. And, really good range of articulation. Now, as for my thoughts in the actual movie, I did enjoy the A-Team movie a whole lot. I understand some people out there didn't quite like it. Even Mr. T sort of felt that it betrayed the original vision of the show, but I mean, a lot of the scenes where they're actually planning and implementing their really cool stunts are just all completely awesome, and then they have other stuff which, it's kind of not as cool, but on the whole, it definitely was a very fun summer flick, and, I was happy to have seen it. And certainly as far as TV to movie adaptations go, they definitely could have done a lot worse. But yeah, until next time, folks. I love it when a figure review comes together.